Her Purple Past, Part 7. Now hear me, my rose, is there one you could trust? A brother Ambrose, whose muteness a must? A maid, a kind aunt, a pal from the past? Someone who shan't tell tales if they're asked? They will be rewarded, for I have 4 pearls, but nothing please blurted 2 other girls. In exchange for 2 jewels I've a merchandise list, 2 more for 2 mules, if they'd care to assist. Disguised as poor peasants on 2 sorry arses, we'll seek places pleasant where green are the grasses. 2 pistols, a rope, 2 sets of men's clothes would aid our elope, Amelia Ambrose. I'll tie some torn sheeting, and this time next week tell them that the meeting will be by the creek. When you have the parcel, twine to it and tug up into this castle that luggage I'll lug. 'Twas in motion, this exploit, she'd almost explode, and pleased by her adroit a letter was showed. She'd sent it in dread, as in fearful sensation. It was covertly read, came back a confirmation. The deal had been done, then she'd burnt both those copies, 2 pearls for the package, 2 pearls for the donkeys, plus promised liaison, when they were able, swap arses for horses from de Albert's war stable. Amelia Ambrose. The meeting is fixed, for I've a safe cousin. This time in betwixt I beg on with discussion. Julie Daubeny. I bagged me a saddle and saddled a bag, and from the same stables unshackled a nag. I dashed from the scandals that I could foresee. Those 3 were no vandals, but haut bourgeoisie. I ran from the hounds, released by Rainey, who'll be hunting me down for that slaughtering spree. It made me feel sick, and I far less courageous. Lay Rainey'd be quick, wouldn't take the cunt ages. I came over queer, being burnt at the stake, and I fell up with fear as I raced to escape. People would relish my skin in a sizzle. I could almost smell it, it started to drizzle. I was soaked to the bone, and my hair would be frizz. Then I thought of a home, so I spurred it to his. There, de Albert, de Oozes, 2 dukes and 4 earls, and lighting 8 fuses were 28 girls. 2 dukes doing booties in my second home, the booties of beauties in scenes from old Rome. De Albert, my darling, whom now a war hero, was dirt water discharging as Emperor Nero. My dearest de Oozes, a master of yoga, had left suspect oozes all over 6 togas. The libertine earls, each acting like Liber, were sailing through girls like ships in the Tiber. I left all my problems in acres of flesh, with bosoms and bottoms relaxing the stress. 2 weeks of these tussles had made me feel better, so I set out to Brussels. He'd sent a French letter. De Albert, to please me, I veered homophile, held orgies to ease me, gently to exile. Since Namar's hysteria, he'd had a fierce rival, yet the Prince of Bavaria would appraise my arrival. They'd both won medallions for that stricken siege, heading opposing battalions, serving a vying liege. Since Habsburg's attacks, Emmanuel was reversing, now de Albert and Max been covertly conversing. As in seeking the favour of Louis XIV, he'd welcome the raver of the Paris scene. The premier raver of the cultural sphere would give him his town flavour when the wildcat was here. Brussels had ballet, but no opera star. Emmanuel asked, would I? If so, he'll send a car. He'll pay for a carriage if I'd take the role. I'd inquired about marriage. He'd married a Pole. I granted his wish above and beyond, though I had great fish in a grey little pond. I was a wild cat, not one of his kittens, with claws for combat that tore him to ribbons. Maximilian Emmanuel. What could I have changed to quench that reaction? Now we are short-changed with the operas in action. Since we are estranged, Bombarda's lost traction, though often deranged, she's the star attraction. 'Twas not what had planned, she hath done a bunk, now the tragedy's bland and the revenue's shrunk. I tried hard to please her, that crazed Cleopatra, but I am no Caesar, and she's a soul-snatcher. I'm a man with desires, a spunk-loaded soldier, but her visceral fires hath turned me bipolar. I thought I severe, yet she was severer. 'Tis now crystal clear was porking a mirror. I'd rather face foes in the carnage of war than calming the woes when Maupin was sore. Oh, oui, she brought glamour, had sparkle and glitz, but I'd have to don armour when she threw her fits. I'd have to don armour, those tantrums could blitz, but wow, what a charmer with platinum tits. Concerning her inner, completely complex, but my, what a stunner with that wondrous neck. Wow, what a beauty with succulent thighs, yet simmered a cruelty in those violet eyes. There simmered a temper the public adored, turned my city centre to something restored. But why'd I justify any mistresses taken? Most mistresses that sly snake later partake in. I'm an amorous male with lusty restiveness, yet I without fail would beg for forgiveness. So though she was lauded and gave a great gift, I'm so drained and defrauded I tried set her adrift. I did not require her, no longer my squeeze, yet still would have hired her and paid acting fees. I set out to leave her, still heaping her praise, plus 2,000 livres to sing on in the plays. I tried to tell her to go, but paid she stay, her blunt answer none, which dulled my ballet. I set out to dump her, she beat me there to it. As for my opera, I fucking well blew it. Julie de Albany. I was drunk in a tavern and slurring my tale as a dashing sea captain kept plying me ale. That Comte d'Arco with big bag of coin interrupted rehearsals at l'Opera de Foyne. I'd cause a debacle as fuck the elector whence battered d'Arco who sought a shite letter. He held a shite memo for a shit-headed prince. I fetched him a low blow to try daring convince. Max would raise eyebrows and lips would be twitching by 2 lousy thousand for Belgium enriching. 2 fucking grand for sharing my boudoir for all sorts of screwing and suction it tout droit. 2, not for 40. You hearing me, cunt? You'll tell him that shorty if you find the front. And off he wheezed, looking extra diminished, and I fucking well pleased that we fucking well finished. I felt fucking cheerful, so fuck him his money. And as Arco so fearful, it was fucking funny. I'd frightened the cuck, and now I was bladdered, but shit out of luck with that captain had heard. His ears were unplugged, and he plied me with liquors, hoped if drugged he'll be into my knickers. Hoping and getting, again and again, as he was committing to sailing to Spain. I'd let him his nubbin, for it worth the while to ride in his cabin and travelling style. Back in the past it had been my dream, an oral party with a prince on the ream. Now fuck Maximilian and all he entailed, 'cause I'd a criterion and that ship had sailed. The sun stroked my face and we set on our course. I'd Spain to embrace and the sailors were sauce. To see such a sight and I proved pretty handy, plus the sex was all right and the captain's food dandy. I decided to scroll, there was no point in seething, and open my soul with the deepest of breathing. With the deepest of breaths I drunk in the skies, though sunk in the depths, again would I rise. Again I would rise, then all of our eyes on, as a sentinel cried, "Corsairs on the horizon!" They still a small blip, but there was mass panic from that pirate ship out in the Atlantic. There was high hysteria, for we would be slaves, with them getting nearer on favourable waves. The cruel, queasy, panicking rumours I remember from Thesey still wore those red bloomers. And off of my whipped, flashing nanny goat's toe, up the crow's nest I flipped to flag we're no foe. Though just in a vest, my pants did their work, as dared not molest a bedfellow Turk. With the wind at our back, from the corsairs we sailed, it whistled my crack, below they all hailed. I hailed as a hero and champ of enjoyment, but my pouch it held 0, nor had I employment. As a sort of redress for averting the raid, I was passed an address of a niece whom a maid. I sang for some coinage and other stuff did, the rest of our voyage to see me to Madrid. To pay for a cart there, after mooring the clipper, I'd messaged to Albert and slipped it the skipper. Was a penniless pauper, depressed in the dumps, a week sipping water, and banged from the bumps. Thought I'd hit the cellar with Spain half traversed, but after I'd met her, things only got worse. Could swear she albino, first thoughts on first sight, yet the Countess Marino was just painted white. Her face painted white, her teeth stained a yellow. When noticed my fright, she vetoed my hello. Tres miserable, and pittance she paid, tres miserable, as her chambermaid.